It's a presentation of Fox Sports.
We are Baltimore. We are Ohio.
Last night in the series opening win, it was all about big swings, big steals, and big strikeouts. Reds 8, Giants 3. So now we welcome you to Great American Ballpark for round 2 of this 3-game series. The team with the best record in all the National League and all of baseball, the Giants, taking on the Reds in Game 2 of this series. And hi again, everybody, alongside Chris Welsh and Jim Day. I'm Tom Brenneman. Welcome, as always, to Reds baseball right here on Fox Sports Ohio. Reds have won 4 in a row. And last night, a good sign that Jay Bruce able to swing the bat, knocking in his first 2 runs, Chris, since coming off the DL.
Well, since we're into big things, how about Big Bruce out there? He was swinging a big bat last night, the left-hander was, and he's been trying to get on the beam ever since coming off the disabled list. His swing not quite on it, but certainly last night is a step in the right direction with the way he has done it and what he has done last night to get to the mark that he has as far as runs batted in. Most runs batted in by a 27-year-old in Reds history. It's pretty much unbelievable for Jay Bruce to be on a list with Frank Robinson, Vada Pinson, Adam Dunn, and Johnny Bench.
And it should be noted, Bench, Robinson, and Pinson were all guys that came to the big leagues when they were 19 years old, and it took them till 27 to get to that number. All right, now tonight we turn our attention to the pitching matchup. Ryan Vogelsong having a much better year than that of a year ago, and for Tony Cingrani, trying to figure out, Chris, where he is right now.
Well, Tony Cingrani is a guy that has pitched a couple of good games. He's pitched some bad games above that, or below average for him. You know, we set the bar very high for Tony Cingrani with the way he pitched last year. He wants to stay in this rotation. He's got a lot of personal motivation to go out there and really pitch lights out baseball tonight. Ryan Vogelsong has been a mixed bag this year for the Giants. He's been very, very good, and he's been nearly awful. We'll see what we get tonight.
All righty, when we come back, run, Billy, run. He was off to the races here last night, and Jim Day will have that story along with a weather report for tonight when we return to Fox Sports Ohio.
by authority of the Cincinnati Reds. It may not be reproduced or retransmitted in any form, and the accounts and descriptions of this game may not be disseminated without the express written consent of the Cincinnati Reds.
It rained a ton today in the Buckeye State, but we hope most of the rain has moved out. Your local weather brought to you by Local 12. 82 degrees right now. Very humid. 12-mile-per-hour wind out of the west. Scattered showers, so we hope they don't pop up above the stadium here. Jim Day with you. We're on the field, and Billy Hamilton. Wow, was he fun to watch last night. He had the quote of the game afterwards as well. He said, you know what, it's fun being fast. Well, I bet it is, and it's fun watching Billy Hamilton be fast. He's got a 3-game steal streak. He had 2 of them last night, and the Reds are 13-4 when Hamilton steals a base. They have a saying in the dugout when he comes in and scores, they say, as you go, we go. As you go, we go. He's certainly the table setter, and the teams have committed 4 errors this season when he attempts a steal or opponents attempt a pickoff move. We saw a couple of them last night, one in which he scored on. Let's see if Billy will be running tonight. Reds creeping closer to that 500 mark. It's Los Rojos and Los Gigantes next on Fox Sports Ohio.
Ball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by your local Ford dealer. Ford, go further. By Cincinnati USA Regional Tourism Network. Stay close to CincinnatiUSA.com. By AT&T, mobilizing your world. And by Skyline Chili, feeling good. It's Skyline time. Sam the Eagle, soaring high above Great American Ballpark. Our friends from the Cincinnati Zoo, the world-renowned Cincinnati Zoo in town tonight. Tonight also, the big Aroldis Chapman bobblehead giveaway. Those little guys are fired up, and why not? All right, let's take a look at the Giants starting lineup tonight. Presented by Meyer. Under manager Bruce Bochy. Pagan in center, Pence in right, Posey back behind the plate. Sandoval at third, Morse at first, Brandon Hicks at second. Perez in left field, Crawford the shortstop, and Vogelsong on the mound. And starting at for the Reds, 2 up, 5 down. Start number 10 at a stint on the disabled list is second-year left-hander Tony Cingrani.
Well, unusual for Tony Cingrani, but he actually has pitched 2 games in a row now where he's given up more hits than innings pitched. For a while there, he was one of the most unhittable pitchers in the history of baseball as far as hits per innings pitched. Still trying to adjust, I think, to a couple adjustments he made in spring training to try to expand his repertoire to new pitches.
Ball one to Pagan, a .322 batter, 3 home runs and 17 runs batted in. Was 0 for 3 here last night. He walked and scored a run. Pagan, a switch hitter. And this one in the air. Is it playable? It appears to be so for Devin Mesoraco, and out number 1. Take a look at the Reds defensively, presented by your Ford dealers. The only change from last night's starting 8 is in left field. Ryan Ludwig getting the nod rather than Skip Schumacher. Reds last night scoring 8 runs, 8 hits. Running like crazy on the bases. Billy Hamilton a couple of stolen bases. Brandon Phillips got his first of the year. Jay Bruce had a stolen base. A big night. And now Hunter Pence. He homered in the first inning last night. One of his 3 hits in the game. The only time they got him out, he had a line drive that nearly knocked the glove off Todd Frazier's left hand. Pence got off to a dreadful start in the month of April, and he went crazy, much like the Giants. They won 19 games in the month of April. And so far this year against left-handed pitching, Hunter Pence has owned opposing left-handers. A .361 batting average.
And that's a formidable challenge for Tony Cinquegrani at any time, much less a time right now where it looks like he's flying open and not really getting his arm through. There he did that time. When you see that ball from the left-hander going out and away, he's late on it. But Pence was not late on that. That ball in Homer Bailey's view was around his neck. But a bad ball hitter he is, and you're not really sure when you throw a waste pitch to him whether it's going to be a waste pitch or whether it will be wasted.
3-2 now on Hunter Pence. Struck him out, came back with 3 straight fastballs after falling behind 3-0.
Really good adjustment there for Cinquegrani. You know, when you're on the mound as a pitcher or in the batter's box, you're your own coach. You can't go to your pitching coach after 2 pitches and say, what am I doing wrong? He makes the adjustment to get his arm through, get better extension. Those last 2 fastballs had some giddy up.
So a 2 away in the inning for the catcher Buster Posey. Slow to get started this year. That one in the air to left field and over the head of Ryan Ludwig, looking right into the sun. And that will be a double for Buster Posey with 2 outs here in the first inning. That is only Posey's 4th double of the year.
Buster's been bothered with some back problems, but he had no problem with that right there. He was looking fastball after seeing all the fastballs that the batters previous to him got. And he's a good high fastball hitter. I mean, it's okay to throw that first pitch fastball in there, but you have to know who you're throwing it to. And Posey has turned around a couple of fastballs in this ballpark that have broken the hearts of Reds fans.
Now Pablo Sandoval, like Pagan, a switch hitter. Batting .282 left-handed, just .176 so far this year from the right side. Giants have opened a 7-game lead over the Dodgers in the National League West. Colorado in third, losers of 5 in a row, and all of a sudden the Rockies, after that torrid start, have slipped 1 game under the 500 mark and 8.5 games behind Bruce Bochy's San Francisco Giants. Of course, the Reds took care of Colorado when they were here. They beat the Rockies 2 out of 3. They've really never been the same club ever since, especially when they're outside of Denver. Two and one on Sandoval. Giants 37 wins, 21 losses. The 37 wins the most of any team in baseball. Oakland, their Bay Area counterparts, one fewer win at 36. A's have won 4 in a row. They beat the Yankees in extra innings last night. 2-1 pitch. High fastball. 2-2.
Tony not really messing around. It seemed like when he's had his bad games, he's tried to force his off-speed stuff. Not this time to Sandoval, as he just rears back and gives him the good old four-seam fastball upstairs, and that is Cingrani's bread and butter.
Two and two on Sandoval. They come right back with high gas, and he pops it up. Frazier underneath it, and a very good start for Tony Cingrani. A hit a man left. Reds coming to bat when we return. Of the first inning, and the Reds coming to bat. Let's take a look at Brian Price's starting lineup presented by Meyer. Billy Hamilton, Todd Frazier, Brandon Phillips. The numbers for Jay Bruce against Ryan Vogelsong, Devin Mesoraco, and Ryan Ludwig in the middle. Ryan Pena, Zach Cozart, Tony Cingrani, the latter third. Vogelsong making his 12th start. Tell you, overall, going back to when they basically picked this guy off the scrap heap, he has been a very good find for the Giants.
You're not kidding about that. He's had a resurgence in his career after being originally drafted by the Giants. In 1995, he was a 5th-round pick out of Kutztown State in Pennsylvania. And he was traded in that Jason Schmidt deal that sent him to Pittsburgh, and Jason Schmidt, who went on to have some very good years with the Giants. Played a couple of years in Japan, and when the Giants recalled him back and got him back into their organization one more time, that's when he really began to hit his stride.
Well, he was a 13-game winner with an ERA of 2.71 in 2011. In 2012, he won 14 with a slightly higher ERA. But my, oh my, was he good in the postseason. There's strike one to Billy Hamilton. Pitched in one game against the Reds, 5 innings, 3 hits and a run. Went 2-0 in the league championship series against St. Louis with an ERA at 1.2. And he beat the Tigers in his only World Series start. Pretty good run through the postseason, an unbeaten postseason for Ryan Vogelsong.
Yeah, he and Barry Zito were the only 2 pitchers on that team that year that were unbeaten in the postseason. You would never have guessed that going into the postseason, not with some of the arms they had, like Lincecum and Kane.
Diving play by Morse, who's going to get to the bag, and it's Hamilton who gets to the bag.
Well, that was a nice play by Michael Morse. The problem was there was nobody at first base. And we've said it many times, if the first baseman fields the ball away from the bag and you rely on the pitcher to beat Billy Hamilton down the line, chances are you're going to lose the race.
Billy Hamilton, a pair of stolen bases in the game last night. Boy, did he create chaos for the Giants when he was on base in the game last night, starting in the very first inning. Lincecum had him pecked off, tried to hurry the throw, threw it into center field, and Hamilton scored all the way from second base. And then after an infield hit in the fifth inning, stole second. Catcher's throw went into center field. Hamilton wound up at third and scored again. Todd Frazier at 271, 10 home runs, 29 batted in. And he looks at ball one away.
Now, a little different battery tonight than last night with Lincecum on the mound. Vogelsong holds runners, at least historically, much better than Tim Lincecum has. This year he's given up 6 stolen bases. They've thrown out 4. He's also picked off 1. But if you're Todd Frazier, you're still looking for fastballs right here with Hamilton at first base.
That one in the air and out of play. A ball and a strike on Frazier. Real good crowd on this Wednesday night. Now, granted, it was a Aroldis Chapman bobblehead giveaway. Billy Hamilton, 3 straight games now with a stolen base, and look at the Reds' record when he steals a bag. He'll take that all day, every day.
That's breaking it down.
Breaking ball off the outside corner, 2-1. Well, it has turned into an absolutely beautiful night. The humidity seems to have been swept out of here. And tomorrow they're calling for temperatures in the mid to high 70s tomorrow and Friday. And tomorrow an afternoon game. Come on down if you're able. 12:35 first pitch to wrap up this series, and then expecting a beautiful weekend. Again, temperatures in the high 70s, low 80s, low humidity. Phillies will be here Friday night, late Saturday afternoon, Sunday afternoon. And then the Dodgers beginning on Monday in the first of 4. See 8 of Frazier's 10 home runs, and the majority of his runs batted in have come here at Great American Ballpark. He'd love to add to both of those totals right here and right now. 2-2 to count, and once more throws sending Billy back to the bag. And another Giants mistake, worried about Hamilton. Opponents have now committed 5 errors trying to pick Billy Hamilton off or trying to throw him out stealing so far this year.
You know, there are physical errors, there are mental errors, and then there are worry errors. And that's what that is when you've got a pitcher so worried about Hamilton that he really thinks he's going to pick him off. Now, Vogelsong has a pretty good move for a right-hander, but the chances of you picking off a runner at first base, they're just very slim. More often than not, you see that ball go down the right field line. And yes, Billy, it is fun to be fast. One of the better quotes we've heard all year long.
So now runner at second base, nobody out. 2-2 on Todd Frazier. And And that's strike 3 called. Frazier takes a fastball on the outside corner for the first out of the inning.
Maybe Todd thought that was low, but no argument from Todd Frazier.
Now Brandon Phillips, 269 batter, 4 home runs, 22 knocked in. He had a big 2-run double to add to what was a 1-run lead in that 4-run 5th inning last night. He later stole a base in that inning and scored a run. We'll keep you up to date throughout the rest of the night on what the Brewers are up to. They're doing that home and home 2-2 with their natural rival, the Minnesota Twins. So that series shifts to Minneapolis Target Field tonight. And the same thing with the Cardinals and the Royals. They played the last 2 games, won by the Royals at Busch Stadium. And now they change venue to Kansas City for the first of 2. Both those games will be starting in about 45 minutes from now. San Diego does have a 2-0 third inning lead out west over the Pirates. Well, I tell you what, Vogelsong, I don't know if he's rattled or he's having problems getting on the same page with Posey. But it's taken him about 4 minutes here to even throw a pitch in this at bat.
Might be a good pitch to go on right here. Remember, with a runner at second base, the catcher changes his signs. So Vogelsong, however, has got a whole bunch of things going through his head. Number 1 is picking up that sign with a runner at second. Number 2 is worrying about Billy Hamilton. Number 3 is worrying about the number 3 hitter in the batter's box, Brandon Phillips. And it's hard to be that complex. He's got to figure out something to think about and think about only that.
First pitch to Brandon, and a breaking ball is a little bit high, ball 1. One and 0 the count on Brandon Phillips, runner at second base, and a strike called.
But if you're watching the radar gun reading, you might be thinking, well, is that a fastball from Brian Vogelsong? The answer is yes. He averages right around 90 miles an hour, which means a lot of them he's going to throw at 89. But his game is control. He likes to sink the ball, keep it down around the knees, and when he gets the ball up around thigh high, it's pretty good hitting.
Good breaking ball there to get ahead, 1-2. Well, you wonder about the madness that Hamilton can cause. This half inning has lasted 12 minutes. Vogelsong has thrown 11 pitches. Paying all that attention to Hamilton at first, now Hamilton at second. And a ball and 2 strikes on Brandon Phillips. Jay Bruce waits in the on-deck circle. Hamilton is not really taking a Billy Hamilton uber aggressive lead out there at second base. Second baseman sort of sniffing around. That ball hit Brandon Phillips. And he'll be awarded first base. 2 on for Jay Bruce.
Bruce Bochy's going to amble out of the dugout and at least have a conversation about that as to whether he got hit by the pitch or not. I don't think there's any doubt. They're going to continue the conversation long enough until Dave Righetti hears the word from the video guy. So between Billy Hamilton effect of slowing the inning down and waiting for the replay man to say yes or no, and Brighetti thumbs down.
That's the best look we've had at that so far this year. The old-fashioned, old-school, just thumbs down. And really, that's what this Giant staff is all about. I mean, they really are a bunch of guys that have been around the game for a long, long time.
You look at grizzled veteran, and their pictures are right there.
You're right about that. Jay Bruce looks at ball one up and away. I mean, you talk about Hensley, Mulin's been around forever. Joe LaFay, Dave Righetti, Roberto Kelly, Tim Flannery, Ron Wotus, Mark Gardner. A lot of those guys, of course, wore Giants uniforms as players. 1-1 to Jay Bruce.
Good night for a sinker ball pitcher to be out there.
Adrian Johnson calling the balls and strikes tonight. Gabe Morales at first, crew chief Larry Vanover out at second, and Angel Hernandez the umpire at third. 2 on, 1 out for Jay Bruce. And there's strike 2.
Well, if he's going to call it, and we showed you on that Fox tracks, if that's accurate, that looks like it's right at the hollow of the knees, and you know that's exactly where he threw on to Frazier to ring him up, right at the bottom end of the strike zone, and that is Vogelsong's game. Sometimes you've got to go down there to get it.
Second batter in the inning that goes down looking on strikes.
And he got 3 at the same spot. Never moved the bat. I mean, I'm all for waiting for a pitch to hit, but at some point you have to expand the zone because the pitcher's trying to do that to you. And with 2 strikes, you've got no choice. With a runner at second, wave the bat.
Breaking ball in there, strike 1 to Devin Mesoraco.
He may get a diet of those because he turned on that fastball last night, and he is a known fastball hitter. If he gets one, it's probably going to be a show me pitch like that, although that was probably a cutter.
Tell you what, though, I'm not a betting man, but if I were a betting man, that first strike will be the only strike that Devin Mesoraco is going to take in this at bat. With 2 on and 2 out, he will be swinging.
I would not bet you on that one, even if you were a betting man.
Thank you. Fly drive right at Sandoval. The inning is over. Red Strand 2, end of 1. No score at Great American Ballpark.
When he gets a lot of his strikeouts are on that elevated fastball, he hasn't been getting as many of those. That being said, you know, to be an outstanding pitcher at this level, you have to be able to pitch with your stuff, regardless if it's your A-grade stuff or your B-grade. You still have to be competitive. He's been competitive. He just hasn't been the dominant Tony Cingrani that we've seen quite often here.
Brian Price with our game storyline, brought to you by Elk & Elk, serious lawyers for serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio. Hoping to see the Tony Cingrani we saw virtually every start last year and the early part of this year.
Well, I like what I've seen so far.
Strike one to Michael Morse. Scoreless game as we open up the top half of the second inning. Morse at 289, 11 home runs, 38 runs batted in. Hit 4 ground balls in the infield last night. Ground ball outs. Morse came up originally with Seattle, was there in 05, 06, 07, 08. Went to the Nationals in 2009 and had the monster year in 2011 when he hit 31 home runs, knocked in 95 runs. Not nearly as productive in 2012, then back to Seattle last year. Finished the year with Baltimore. Giants took a flyer on him, 32 years old, a native of Davie, Florida. And so far, that has been a very, very good sign for the Giants. Lines out one to Jay Bruce in right field to open up things here in the second inning. So now Brandon Hicks, a 178 batter in limited playing time, does have 8 home runs, 20 runs batted in. He's certainly got a lot more playing time than he would have ever imagined. And unfortunately for the Giants, it's at the expense of their regular second baseman Marco Scutaro, who's had a terrible back problem. They can't make the decision on whether they're going to perform surgery. Initially they thought so, then they thought no. And many wonder if Scutaro will come back at all this entire season. Hicks only 2 hits in his last 30 at bats. And that's good morning, good afternoon, and good night once again on high fastballs from Cingrani.
Yeah, but we're seeing now Tony Cingrani is a little bit more vintage, if you want to say that, about a guy who's essentially a 2-year pitcher. I mean, this is really what got him here, the high fastball, and he's beginning to feel a little good. That's what we like to see.
MLB.TV Premium. Visit Reds.com for more details. And that is a fair ball, just a bouncer over the head of Frazier, who is drawn in at third base. And Juan Perez with just his 2nd hit in 22 at bats since being brought up from the minor leagues.
He's looking for a fastball, and he bounds it right off or right in front of home plate. And because Frazier's even with the bag, maybe expecting a bunt right there, that ball normally would have been caught, but it goes for a double.
So now the number 8 batter, Brandon Crawford, will come to the plate at 237, 6 home runs, 26 runs batted in, has 11 doubles and 3 triples. Of course, that ballpark where the Giants call home is a triples ballpark, if there ever was one, out in that right center field gap. That's why I'm hoping when the Reds are out there in a 4-game series come the month of July that Well, we have a chance to maybe see Billy Hamilton drive one in that right center field gap, because it might be more than 3 bases. Reds will play a 4-game series against the Giants. Actually, it's at the end of this month, I beg your pardon. They go on a long road trip. 3 in Chicago against the Cubs, 4 against the Giants, followed up by 3 in San Diego.
Well, this is a guy right here, the very important batter for Cingrani. You come and get him. He's an 8th place hitter, batting left-handed, pitcher on deck, get the third out here and make the pitcher lead off the next inning. And now you're fooling around with breaking balls and all sorts of stuff. Because I really believe that if you can get it out here, and he should get him out, then you buy yourself a much easier second inning by having the pitcher lead off. 3rd inning.
Well, now they're just going to go ahead and intentionally walk him.
Man. Wow. Are they worried about Brandon Crawford getting the 3-0 green light? Well, I got to tell you that when I look up the numbers now, Crawford this year is pretty effective against left-handers. Batting almost 340 with 3 home runs. He's batting 192 against righties. But there's a reason he's batting 8th.
Yeah, batting 8th with a left-hander on the mound with all that damage that he's done against him. So 0-1 to Vogelsong. The bottom line is keep him from scoring. And Cingrani trying to take care of the opposing pitcher and send this one scoreless to the bottom of the 2nd inning. 0-2 on Vogelsong. 3 hits in 21 at bats. He does have a double and 2 runs batted in. And there's a fastball right down the middle, which ends the inning. A hit, 2 left. Ludwig Pena Cozart coming up. Reds and Giants scoreless. out by the Power Stacks. Dalton Myers from Hamilton, Ohio, win that Tundra. And you can register for your chance to win. Just stop by your Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky Toyota dealers. Along with Big Jim Day hanging along the Reds dugout. And of course Chris Welsh and our entire crew. Tom Brenneman at Great American Ballpark. Big crowd, beautiful night. And the Reds and the Giants scoreless, as Ryan Ludwig will lead it off against Ryan Vogelsong here in inning number 2. Ludwig at .253, 4 home runs and 18 runs batted in. He did not start in the series opener last night. His last start came on Sunday in Arizona. He had 2 hits, including a solo home run. And that was on the heels of Brian Price having a sit-down chat with Ludwig and letting him know that there will be some maneuvering. It's not a platoon, but there will be some maneuvering with that left field position moving forward, meaning some other guys besides Ryan Ludwig will see their fair share of starts. Brian said naturally that Ryan Ludwig handled it like the true pro that he is. Well, I think you and I, Chris, both agree that interview he had after the game with Jim Day on Sunday, there did appear to be a little bit more of an edge about Ryan Ludwig than we're used to hearing.
Well, I mean, you put yourself in Ryan Ludwig's position. I mean, he is in the back end of a 2-year deal. He's getting up there in age. He wants to play every day. I'm sure he wants to get another contract, continue playing Major League Baseball. When you get relegated to a platoon duty, that hurts you. And he wants to prove to everybody that he can play every day. And what you hope doesn't happen, he gets too anxious and gets outside of himself, trying to prove that he should be an everyday player. But he's been around a while. He knows that this is a business. It's not an easy conversation for the player or for the manager.
Two and two on Ryan Ludwig, and Vogelsong delivers. And that was a pitch he seemed to have go his way in that first inning. A number of pitches right around the knee, maybe a little bit below the knee.
But about that conversation, it's one that Brian Price has shown people that he is not afraid to have. I mean, if he thinks something strongly enough, he's going to do it, and he's going to say it.
And there's ball 4. It's a good at bat by Ryan Ludwig. I tell you, I love Brian Price's comments he had on the radio. We'll get back to that in a minute. Let's quickly look at the Giants defense, brought to you by your Ford dealers. Pagan flanked by Perez and Pence in the outfield. Sandoval and Morse on the corners. Crawford and Hicks up the middle. And Posey started the game at first base last night, back to his regular spot behind the plate tonight. You know, Brian Price was asked about the offensive struggles of this club and the inconsistency from an offensive standpoint from the Reds. And in particular, the conversation centered on the first-year hitting coach Don Long. And Brian Price said, let's be clear. Those were his words. Let's be clear about one thing. No one is working harder than Don Long to try and help these hitters. And there is a foul ball off the bat of Pena. But that at the end of the day, it is on the players to either do it or not do it.
It's not like Don Long is only working with certain players like Devin Mesoraco and Todd Frazier and not working with the rest of them too.
Pena, 283 batter with 3 home runs. He has 8 runs batted in, has 9 doubles. Bryan went hitless last night, snapping a season high 9-game hitting streak, during which he was better than a 400 batter. And he's gone swinging. 3rd strikeout for Ryan Vogelsong, 1 out in the inning.
Well, a rare fastball up right here for Vogelsong. Pena is a better low ball hitter, especially left-handed, than he is a high ball hitter. Although he just seems to put the bat on the ball an awful lot. That is only Pena's 8th strikeout of the season.
Now Zach Kozak, 220 batter, 2 home runs, 13 batted in. He had a rough series opener here last night. Kozak hitless in 4 at bats, struck out swinging 3 of the 4 times. Ludwig, one of the few Reds without a stolen base attempt this year. Of course, he's been recently bothered by a tender quad right above the knee. Would sideline him for 3 games on the last road trip. 1-1 pitch. And now 1-2 on Kozak. Two away in the inning.
If you will notice his head, I mean, it really starts going this way really before he starts his swing. He did it on the last couple of pitches that Kozar did. As soon as you get your head too far out over your toes, you lose your power, you lose the core strength that you have and the foundation that you build in the batter's box. I'm sure he's worked on it, but when you're trying to see that ball in the outer part of the plate and you let your chin lead you out there, even if you do hit it, you're not going to hit it with much authority.
We brought up last night going into the series opener. In the prior 10 games, the Reds had struck out an even 100 times while walking only 9 times. Now last night, Lincecum, as you know, was all over the place. So the Reds did manage to walk 3 times against him. They did strike out 6 times in the game, but you can live with that ratio. And gone swinging Cingrani. 5 strikeouts through the first 2 innings for Ryan Vogelsong. Cincinnati Reds baseball on Fox Sports Ohio, brought to you by JTM Food Group. Let's create great dishes together. By Toyota. For over 30 Toyota offers, visit buyatoyota.com. And by B-Dubs, spend $30 on a gift card for dads and grads. They'll give you a $5 bonus. Buffalo Wild Wings, wings, beer, sports. Boy, what a great night to be hanging out on Fountain Square. Or to be hanging out, better yet, right here at Great American Ballpark. Well, you know he's fired up. I mean, if he's not already out of school, the end of school is, I mean, right in front of him. Lemonade, maybe the swimming pool, playing a little knot-hole baseball, hanging with his guys. Doesn't get any better than that. Does it?
All summer long. Wake up and do the same thing tomorrow.
No doubt. Jump on the bike. Flying out the door. Angel Pagan, top of the order for the Giants. Scoreless game. We're in the third inning. Pagan fouled out to the catcher Mesoraco, leading off the game, and Tony Cingrani jumps in front of him, 0-2.
You know, you can kind of tell those guys that are almost suckers for that high fastball. Pagan looks like one of them. I mean, he just cannot lay off of it. That pitch is a ball all day long. But because it's so close to your eyes, and you see it well because it's up there close to your eyes, you tend to hack at it, just like you did back in Little League.
Pagan, unlike Pablo Sandoval, at least so far this year, has been very good from each side. Wait. Right-handed .299, left-handed .333. Two and two on Pagan, and a roll. One out. Chris, I know you're a big golfer, and I mean, how could you not notice the young fella, I believe his name is Will Grimmer.
I think you're right.
From out at Marymount High School, out on the east part of town, almost all the way to the Clermont County border. That young man, as a junior in high school, qualified this week to play in the United States Open. One of 7 amateurs to qualify. Just an extraordinary story. Cannot wait to see that young man go play with the big boys. I guess he was competing with guys like Justin Leonard and Billy Mayfair and tearing them up.
It's really amazing. He's between his junior and senior's year, and he's heading down to Pinehurst #2.
That one in the air, short left center, and Ludwig will wave off Hamilton. 2 out. Well, right now at FoxSportsOhio.com, you can chat with a Hall of Famer, Hal McCoy. Find out how a healthy Devin Mesoraco is making his name known in Cincinnati. And the Cavs, keep up with them with Sam Amico. Brought to you by 1-800-SAFE-AUTO. Drive safe, spend less. Now, if I'm not mistaken, that should be on the headlines of FoxSportsOhio.com. Young Will Grimmer.
I'm sure they're looking for contributors. If you're willing to sit down and tack away an article.
I'm not a good enough writer. A man's got to know his limitations.
I can work with you.
As I said, a man's got to know his limitations.
Jim Day with you, and yesterday we told you about Joey Votto hoping to take on-field activities with the team for the first time. Well, rain put a crimp into that. He hit underneath and ran a little bit. But today he did the full gamut. It was good to see. He took batting practice with the team and quite honestly looked a little bit rusty as far as that goes. But here's the key right here. Going first to third, he did this a lot. And also took ground balls for the first time today. Now, only Joey Votto knows the discomfort he's feeling in that leg or the lack of strength. But I got to tell you, just looking at him, he certainly passed the eye test. Looked pretty good. So we'll keep you updated on a daily Joey Votto look. Tom?
All right, Jim Dave, thank you very much. Top of the order for the Reds. Scoreless game. Billy Hamilton had an infield hit his first time up. Went to second on a throwing error on an errant throw to try and pick him off. But he never moved. He was standing there with nobody out in the inning. And never advanced for the rest of the inning. Well, now Sandoval with 2 strikes will back up. Morse still playing even with a bag at first. Morse made a nice diving play on the ball on that grounder off the bat of Hamilton. And this might be another hit. It is a hit. And it's thrown down the line. And Hamilton on his second, and he will stop right there. You never know. Boy, does this guy change plays and change a game. He's hit 2 balls a combined, what, 95 feet in this game?
I think Bruce Bochy will see visions of Billy Hamilton in his head when he goes to sleep at night here in Cincinnati. You know, I think what he does is he speeds up the internal clock of the defense. He did that last night with Lincecum on the mound. He quickened to throw to second base and threw a wild into center field. That time Buster Posey, if he really had thought about it, should have just put that ball in his pocket. But no one believes how fast he is until you see it.
Well, that's what you and I were talking about the other day, of just that clock. And players have the clock while they're on the field. You know, you had it when you were on the mound, and you know, you broadcast long enough, you have a clock up here in the booth. And we made the reference to Hamilton as a runner at second base when a ball is hit into the outfield. And you're used to looking up from where we sit, from maybe the ball in right, and expecting the runner to be maybe a step past a bag at third. You look up with Hamilton, and he's 4 steps from home. And so I think you make a great point there. With Posey, his internal clock tells him on a ball hit there, the runner more than likely will be there. But by the time he cuts it loose, Hamilton's hit the bag.
And you see him closer to the bag.
Sure.
So you rush your throw, and that's when you throw a wild.
There he goes for third. And they got him this time. He did not get a good jump. And they cut him down trying to steal third base.
Yeah, he got a little happy right there, I think. It was a nice play by the shortstop, Crawford, who kind of snuck in behind him. Now he's backing off, and Billy went back to the bag right there. And I think that little move back to the bag cost him the stolen base. Even with Billy Hamilton, I'm not a big fan of that with nobody out. Because I almost would rather have him on second base dancing around, distracting the pitcher with the worry of a stolen base, and maybe groove a fastball to Todd Frazier.
1-2 to Frazier. Of course, as we point out, you know, maybe Hamilton's thinking this time, you know, the last time I'm standing at second base with nobody out, and I didn't go anywhere. Because he didn't look like he was even thinking about running with all these guys behind him after getting there with none out in the first inning. 2-2 now on Frazier. And that's down the left field line. Is it fair or foul? And that is a fair ball off the fair pole. Home run, Frazier.
That swing by Todd Frazier was almost a double clutch. It looked like an off-speed pitch. Maybe a changeup that Vogelsong was trying to throw down and away. And he got it up. Frazier got his foot down, kept his hands back, and man, is he strong.
Home run number 11 for Todd Frazier. And his 30th run batted in. Two 2-0 on Brandon Phillips. So the Reds out to a 1-0 lead on the Frazier home run here in the last of the third inning. Brandon hit by a pitch. His first time up. Two and two on Brandon Phillips. And off the outside corner to run the count full. Shot into right center field off the bat of Brandon Phillips. And he's on his way to second base. And he will slide in headlong with a double.
Now Brandon works the count to 3-2, and he also gets a breaking ball, an off-speed pitch that he lines into the right center field gap. Really good hitting by Brandon right there, who this year just seems to be a much better two-strike hitter. A little more patient, a little more willing to use the entire field.
Well, now Jay Bruce an RBI chance. Struck out looking his first time up. In fact, Bruce did not offer any of his strikes in the at bat, believing all three were low. Jay reaching 500 runs batted in. By the time he reached his 27th birthday, talked about the club he joined in the history of the Reds, a bench, Frank Robinson, Vada Pinson, and Adam Dunn. And now Jay Bruce. And that is a fair ball. He'll add another RBI. So are we looking at the start of a red-hot stretch for Jay Bruce? 2-0 Reds.
The Reds attacking the baseball. I think that Bruce went to school on the at bat that he had his first time up against Vogelsong, where he pitched him nothing but down right at the hollows of the knees. And Bruce said that time, I'm going to go down and get that pitch. So after a very softly hit 20-foot infield hit by Billy Hamilton, the Reds have laid some lumber here the last three batters. Frazier, Phillips, and Bruce all have hit rockets.
Well, as always, coming up later, we'll have our Miller Time moment, brought to you by Miller Lite. So far, so good for the Redlegs. In fact, in this inning, Vogelsong has not retired a batter. The only out came on the caught stealing of Hamilton. Billy had a single, Frazier a home run. Now consecutive doubles by Phillips and Bruce. And here's Devin Mesoraco. He hit a rocket caught by Sandoval his first time up. Breaking ball near a strike. Devin Mesoraco, our steel power tool performer. His numbers this year compared to last year. How about that? So you just need to keep Mesoraco on the field. On the DL when the year began, came back, knocked the cover off the ball for about 2 weeks, then back on the DL again.
Yeah, once with an oblique strain. That was the first one. Of course, when you pull a muscle in your rib cage, those take a long time to heal. The other was a hamstring that he pulled while running the bases.
Two and two to Devin Mesoraco. Big swing and a miss on a fastball away from him. 2 out. 6th strikeout of the night for Vogelsong. And now it'll be Ryan Ludwig who walked his first at bat.
Now, Vogelsong is racking up the strikeouts, no doubt about that. Picture perfect placement on that one, right on the edge of the plate and right by Mesoraco.
Jay Bruce, a runner at second base. A home run in this inning by Frazier. Doubles by Phillips, then by Bruce to knock in a second run. And Ryan Ludwig looking to add to this 2-0 lead, and a comebacker to the mound will end the inning. But the Reds get a pair. Frazier, his 11th home run. Bruce, a run-scoring double. And the Reds off and running at the end of 3 with a 2-0 lead.
2-0 Reds lead over the Giants. Jim Day with you, and we've been showing you before the game, Todd Frazier, how he gives the knuckles to anyone involved. Well, with players, he takes it a step further. He's got 12 different handshakes with 12 different players, and he does this as a ritual before every game. Now, don't give him the forearm unless you are ready, because the guy puts some oomph into it, even with manager Brian Price. So indeed, Todd Frazier is turning into the leader on this team.
Well, I think we've all agreed, and we've thought for quite some time. In fact, a lot of us talked to before the year ever began that if Frazier and Mesoraco could become everyday productive players, where guys are looking at him in the clubhouse and saying, that guy is carrying his weight and then some, which both obviously are doing this year. Well, that they both have the personalities to become the real vocal leaders of the team.
I think you're right about that. And he has a tendency to be able to relax people, too. And you've got to relax the play of the game. You've got to have a little fun. In fact, Jim Day, you called him perfectly. He's one of the leaders with that kind of a, I don't know, the forearm shiver. I mean, that's a ringleader, like the WWF. They were just here last night, across the way at U.S. Bank Center. Maybe Todd Frazier could slip in there for a little sleeper hold.
And Mesoraco could put one on you too now. 1-2 the count. So Jim, what kind of guy is able to encompass all of those things we're talking about? How would you describe that guy?
He's a rah-rah guy.
One and two the count on Sandoval, and a breaking ball down around his feet.
You know, he hasn't
popped up his first time up.
Tony has not thrown one of those for a strike yet, but he will. I mean, he's staying stubborn with it, which is what you've got to do. What he hasn't done is backed one up with another. It's always gone breaking ball in the dirt and then a fastball.
Fastball, and in the air to Ryan Ludwig. One gone here in the Giant fourth inning. Time now for you to tweet your photo using #OhioFanPhoto for your chance to have it shown during an upcoming telecast. Brought to you by AT&T. Michael Morse now the batter. We'd like to send out a big happy anniversary. One of our favorite people for a long, long time, Bill Seg Dennison from 700 WLW. Mary and Denny Dennison are celebrating their 59th wedding anniversary tonight. 59 glorious years. So Mary and Denny Dennison, a happy anniversary from all of us.
Indeed.
Hope you've had a great day. Boy, God bless you. 59 years. Two and one to Michael Morse. Big swing and a miss. And a little more giddy up on that fastball tonight from Cingrani, something you've talked about already tonight, Chris. That one at 93 miles per hour.
For Cingrani, it's all about his timing, getting his arm to the point where he could get extension instead of getting his body out in front of his arm, where his arm drags a little bit.
And that one at 95 miles per hour from Cingrani. Boy, he's fired up out there on the mound. That's another guy that once he gets a few years under his belt, this guy's another chance to become a real leader on that staff.
Well, the fastest fastball of the night brings us our flamethrower, brought to you by Cholula at 95.
Cingrani by far the most demonstrative of all the Reds pitchers, starters or relievers, as far as wearing those emotions on his sleeve out there on the mound. I mean, he is one gritty, fired up competitor.
Well, he wasn't doing that in the first inning, so he's feeling it now. He's feeling his legs under him a little bit more. And not pitching tentatively at all. I mean, when we've seen him get into trouble, it's almost like he's trying to trick you. He didn't really believe in his stuff. Now, he may have been injured there for a while. They did land him on the disabled list, and he didn't want to go on the DL, but they wanted to give him some rest. They're going to protect this kid's arm for the long run. Not necessarily in his career, but at the end of this year. You don't know how important he may be down the stretch.
But Cingrani is well aware. We have talked about it many, many times, and the speculation has already begun about who's going to go. And we know who it's not going to be. The question is, who will it be? Matt Latos is starting tonight for Louisville, with the idea being this is his final rehab start. If all goes well and he feels great in the next day or two, his next start figures to be his first start with the major league club here in 2014. Boy, you cannot emphasize enough what an extraordinary addition that could be to this Reds team. It's like trading for a #1 starter in the second week of June. That's in the air, left field. It'll back up Ludwig, who makes a play leaping into the air, and that'll end the inning. 7 in a row retired by Cingrani. Reds have been flashing a leather all year long.
Before the start of every game with Reds Live, presented by Ray St. Clair Roofing, on your exclusive home for Reds baseball, Fox Sports Ohio. And after every Reds game, Fox Sports Ohio breaks down the game and brings you the first interviews with Brian Price and players. Reds Live brought to you by King's Honda.
Always look forward to that. Chris, you're always a big part of both the pregame and postgame shows.
We're working to get you in there. In fact, I've heard that the trickle-down theory is in place. I know we don't want you to feel left out. That's the only thing, Tom. You know,
I never have. I appreciate it very, very much.
I know you go off sometimes and on the national jaunts, and you miss us. But we want you to feel at home and join us in that pregame show.
You guys have always made me feel very welcome, and I greatly appreciate it. But thank you. That is very, very kind and thoughtful.
You're welcome on a daily basis.
Thank you again. 1-1 to Brian Pena. Be followed by Zach Cozart and then Tony Cingrani. Reds leading 2-0. And a ground ball to the shortstop Crawford. He's a very good defender for these Giants. And that's routine for out number 1. Zach Cozart struck out swinging in the 2nd inning. He takes ball 1 here in the 4th. Oh, what a beautiful, beautiful night it has turned into after all the rain. My, oh my, did it rain around Reds country today. That one in the air down the right field line and fair ground. That's out number 2. Well, you can win your way to NASCAR's Quaker State 400 in the Kentucky Speedway Getaway Sweepstakes aboard the Fan Express. Enter today's keyword GEARS, G-E-A-R-S, on the entry page at foxsportsohio.com to enter. Stay tuned every day for a new keyword and a new chance to win. 2 down for Cingrani. Strike 1. And that one slapped into short left. It'll fall in a hit. Tony's 3rd hit of the year in 18 at bats.
Now, this young man puts the bat on the ball. There's no question about that. He's had now 18 plate appearances and has only struck out 4 times. So I would say that's adjusting with 2 strikes. You slap one in there, you just never know as long as you put the ball in play.
Billy Hamilton, a pair of hits, both of them infield hits. Behind strike 1. And a bouncer foul wide of 3rd. Still 0-2 on Billy. They're in the 2nd inning in Kansas City. Cardinals and the Royals scoreless. They're also in the 2nd inning at Target Field in Minneapolis. Brewers and the Twins scoreless. Last of the 6 in San Diego. And the Padres with a 1-run lead, 3-2 over the Pirates. Tell you, the team that just continues to play good baseball. The Miami Marlins, you know, they were hot, then they really cooled off, slipped under 500, got back to 500. Now they've won back-to-back days over Tampa Bay, and Marlins leading tonight. They are only a game and a half behind Atlanta, who lost earlier today. So that could be a half-game spread in the National League East. And of course, all that on the heels of losing Jose Fernandez.
One of the
Rookie of the Year last year.
Yeah, one of the dozens of pitchers, it seems like, this year that have gone under the knife for Tommy John surgery. An epidemic. One of the 2 starters tonight, Vogelsong, he had his Tommy John surgery back in 2002.
That went into left center field, and Billy Hamilton 3 for 3 tonight. And don't look now, that batting average starting to knock on the door of 270.
Well, that was the area that people said before the season If Billy Hamilton can simply hit 270, his on-base percentage will be up over 300. He'll take a few walks, and he'll be deemed a success. I don't think he's satisfied with that.
And he still is not walking. He's admitted that to anybody and everybody that would listen. He knows that that's something that needs to become a more integral part of his game, where you really make the big leap in on-base percentage. But he is something else to watch.
This could be a nice little 2-out lightning right here.
Frazier the batter. He homered his first time up behind strike one here.
You get a run right here, and it's like just driving a dagger right into the heart of the pitcher. I mean, he's got 8, 9, and 1 coming up in the order. You get the 8 batter, or I mean 7, 8, 9. You get the 7 batter and the 8 batter. You're working on a 1-2-3 inning, and the pitcher dinks one in on you. The leadoff hitter gets a base hit, and all of a sudden now you're in the middle of the lineup facing a guy that already hit a home run off of you. He had Adrian Johnson flinching.
Sounded like he broke his back. Yep, he did.
Well, they chased the pitch away, and Vogelsong's been pretty good at nipping at that corner. Vogelsong, you know, after he got traded to Pittsburgh, he had Tommy John surgery and then had a few uneventful years and ended up having to go play in Japan. He signed with the Hanshin Tigers, played there for a year in 2007, and next year he stayed in that league and ended up playing for the Oryx Buffaloes in 2009. He made his way back to the major leagues. He signed a deal with the Philadelphia Phillies in 2009 and 10, but then they released him. Signed a minor league deal with the Los Angeles Angels in July of 2010 and then got released after the end of the season. But it was in 2011 where it began the resurgence of his career. That's when he came up to the major leagues as a fill-in because Barry Zito became injured. And did he ever take off? He made 2 relief appearances, got his first start, and then look out. Ended up going 6-1 that year. And then the next year in 2012, he went 16 straight starts where he had quality starts. And he became a fixture in that Giants starting rotation.
Frazier fouls it out of play on a 3-2 pitch. Well, you know, you mentioned 2011. I mean, he was so good when he came up. You may remember he made the All-Star team that year.
He did, and he actually had a better year in 2012. At the All-Star break in 2012, he was leading the league in earned run average, and he did not get chosen for the All-Star game. Now, he was chosen in 2011. I think Bruce Bochy was the manager that year. But in 2012, I mean, you're leading the league in earned run average. You don't make the All-Star game. Of course, there were a number of other Giants, I'm sure, voted into the All-Star game that year. Probably Buster Posey on that list. Have to go back and look.
3-2 to Frazier. Runners get started. And again, a foul ball out of play.
Well, if nothing else, just think about what the base hit by Tony Cingrani has done to Vogelsong as far as his pitch count goes. Instead of having a 1-2-3 inning where you're probably going to pitch about 12 pitches total, now he's pitched a few to Hamilton, giving up a base hit. He's in a struggle right here. And now that pitch count now is right at 80, and he's only pitched not even through 4 innings yet.
And still Frazier waiting. And a tapper foul, and he'll have to throw another pitch to try and get out of this 4th inning. So it's turned into a 21-pitch inning. And it all began, as Chris mentioned, after that 2-out flare to left by the pitcher Cingrani. He's now at second. Got there on a single by Billy Hamilton. And once more a 3-2 pitch with 2 outs coming to Todd Frazier. 9th pitch of the at-bat struck him out, and that's all for the Red. 2 hits, 2 left. We're off to the 5th. Reds in front of the Giants, 2-0.
Nothing. He has been able to throw that high fastball, and we're going to make that our Mazda pitch by pitch as we see how Tony Cingrani has gone up the elevator against the Giants tonight. Pablo Sandoval, a pop-up, a swing and a miss. Hunter Pence, another pop-up, and that has been the bread and butter all night long. 4 of them at the top of the zone. All outs for Cingrani. 4 strikeouts, a ground out, a fly out. Our Mazda pitch by pitch.
The crowd's got a little bounce. They're playing that song Happy, and I don't know if there's a song out there right now that seems to make people any happier than that song.
It's got a nice groove. Now, you were going to use that as your walk-up music, which I think we ought to play every time you come on to the pregame show.
You know, there's it's like the old Motown stuff, man.
Yeah,
I mean, it's so good compared to some of the other stuff out there. I mean, look at all the people here.
Don't start sounding old.
They're grooving. I'm not. This is a new song.
You're sounding old when you start saying about that, all that other
all
stuff.
I'm saying is look at the reaction of the people. You play a lot of the stuff they put out now. They're sitting on their hands and they're bummed out.
Come on.
You put that song on, and people are grooving. They're feeling good. They're feeling happy.
Undo your tie a little bit.
It is.
Throw your sleeves up.
They're happy. Even Jesse's happy.
We like making everybody happy, except the visiting team. We like to make that third base coach lonely. Turn Tim Flannery into the Maytag repairman out there.
0-2 on Juan Perez, and a fastball is high. Perez hit that bouncer off the dirt right around the home plate right around the home plate area that bounced over the head of Todd Frazier down the left field line for a double. Giants have 2 hits, and Cingrani walks 1 batter intentionally. He's fanned 4. And that is strike 3 called. He's fanned 5.
Well, when you start getting check swings on fastballs like that, that means your stuff has a little extra jump on it.
Cheer on the Redlegs over the weekend. Phillies are in town. On Saturday, the first 20,000 fans get a Reds cap thanks to Fox Sports Ohio. And a reminder, a rare Saturday 4:10 first pitch. So heck, you can have almost a full day, come on down to the ballpark, and still have plenty of the nighttime left with that 4:10 first pitch. Brandon Crawford was intentionally walked his first time up. Down, strike one here. Devin Mesoraco having some kind of a coughing fit there, looked like after that pitch was thrown. Don't know if he got a little dirt in his throat or now telling the batter, all right. One and one to Crawford. That's a pitch he was trying to throw to him his first time up and couldn't find it near the strike zone.
You know, I always go back to what Leo Mazzoni would tell his pitchers in Atlanta when he was having, you know, the future Hall of Famers like Glavine and Maddox and Smoltz. And on days when you don't have your good stuff, maybe one pitch isn't working for you, you got to stay stubborn with it. You can't just put it in your pocket and forget about it. Doesn't mean you throw it all the time until you start walking the ballpark. Got to mix it in every once in a while. If it's not working in the first inning, maybe it'll work in the fourth or fifth inning. Of course, for those guys, it worked pretty much about every inning.
Well, he came back with another breaking ball and gets Crawford swinging. Back-to-back strikeouts, and 3 of the last 4 on strikeouts for Cingrani.
Now remember, it was Crawford that he ended up intentionally walking back in the second inning because he got behind into him 3-0.
That was a nasty breaking ball right there. Well, we just showed you the replay and the movement of that pitch. And now you have the pitcher Vogelsong with 2 down and nobody on. Well, Cingrani, you would assume, went to school. He was right in the middle of all of it. Almost a carbon copy of the just completed bottom of the 5th inning. 7, 8, 9 in the order. Cingrani was a guy who had the base hit, which extended that inning. 2 more batters, 2 lengthy batters. And now he's 2-1 on Vogelsong, trying to make it a 1-2-3 inning. And a new piece of lumber for Mr. Vogelsong. Two on the way. And now full count, pitcher against pitcher here in the top half of the 5th inning. Reds with a 2-0 lead. That ball hit hard into deep right field, and that will bounce up and over the wall. A 2-out double by Ryan Vogelsong. So he does to Cingrani what Cingrani did to him, a 2-out base hit.
Well, he hangs right in there, Vogelsong does, and Cingrani's got a hit off the Giants starter. Now Vogelsong's got a double off of him.
This game has felt like the entire game the Reds have been in total and complete command, yet it is only a 2-0 lead. The Reds have left 6 runners on base. So this is a tying run at the plate, and Pagan is down strike 1.
He's up there hacking. He really likes to swing aggressively. At least he has tonight against Tony Cingrani. Having a good year. Young man that grew up in Puerto Rico, drafted by the Mets in 1999. Actually grew up a boxing fan. Very poor neighborhood. Actually was so poor in the Pagan family that his dad had to borrow money from time to time just to feed the family. Drug infested neighborhood that he said because he was an athlete that most of the bad guys left them alone. Mother was a softball player. He's become a fan favorite in San Francisco.
Two and one the count. Cingrani against Pagan, runner at second, and now 3 balls and a strike. And Mesoraco says hang on a minute.
You know, the chore of all pitchers, and I guess batters for that matter too, is to try to stay compact. The more compact you are, the easier it is for you to repeat your delivery or your swing. And Tony's a long guy. I mean, his arms are long, his legs are long, and it's easy for him to get out of whack.
Three and one on Pagan. He was going to be hacking all the way at anything close. Payoff pitch now to Pagan with a runner at second, Vogelsong, and 2 outs in the inning. And that one popped up and over the screen and out of play. So we talked about the pitches after the pitcher gets a 2-out hit in the last half inning. For Cingrani, by being unable to retire Vogelsong, this will be the 7th pitch in this at bat to Pagan. Cingrani finally settles on the rubber. Okay's assigned with Mesoraco, and once more the payoff pitch. And once more a foul ball by Angel Pagan. Ronnie was cruising along with a very, very efficient pitch count. But all of a sudden, these last 2 at bats, he went full on the pitcher. He's gone full on Pagan. They're starting to add up. And he walked it. Threw him a 3-2 breaking ball to face Hunter Pence. And now Jeff Pico says, hang on a minute.
Yeah, if nothing else, good time to give him just a breather out there. The inning was going so good, just like Vogelsong's was before he ended up giving up a couple of hits, and now Cingrani strikes out the first 2, dominated number 7 and 8. Now you want to stop it right here to kind of get him back on track.
So the last 2 batters he's had to throw 14 pitches to. I mean, you look up there on the board and you get Vogelsong out on the first or second pitch of that at bat. You're walking back into the dugout at the end of 5 and right around 65 pitches. And now all of a sudden your next pitch is your 80th pitch, and your 80th pitch has some stress on it with 2 on and 2 out in the inning and just a 2-0 lead. Hunter Pence is struck out and flied out to left field. And he's down, strike 1.
Not a good sign right there, because if Tony Cingrani is around long enough to face hitters for the 3rd time, that batting average is down. That tells you that he's in his groove a little bit. But a very important inning right here, starting the 3rd time through this order.
And now 0-2. Nothing and 2. Cingrani against Hunter Pence. 2 on, 2 out. And a fastball that this time he manages to lay off of.
Yeah, the question is, how high do you have to throw it to keep Hunter Pence from swinging? He may have just found that answer. I mean, I think both pitches he's hacked at in this at bat have both been out of the zone. You talk about a fast internal clock. Look at the twitching going on with Hunter Pence.
Got him on the breaking ball to end the inning. How about that? 7 strikeouts in the game, and the Reds still lead 2-0. Take a look at our fan photo of the game brought to you by AT&T. See what we have here tonight. Sarah on one of our Bark in the Park nights. That's a great picture, Sarah. Thank you very much.
Hey, have you entered your photo with your pets or dogs?
Not yet.
For the next year 2015 calendar?
But I will.
Okay.
What about you?
I did today. Yeah.
You did?
Send
Nice.
it on in. All right. Don't be late. You'll miss the deadline, and you have to wait till 16. It's a long way off.
Billy. 3, 4, and 5 in the Reds batting order. Phillips, Jay Bruce, and Devin Mesoraco. Reds with a 2-0 lead as Cingrani gets a strikeout of Hunter Pence to end the top of the 5th inning. We got a long way to go in this one. That's in the air and appears to be playable for Morse. 1 pitch, 1 out. Reds have missed a number of chances already to bust this thing wide open. They had runner at second, nobody out in the first inning. First and second, and 1 out in the first inning, didn't score. Had a runner at second with only 1 out in the third, could not add to the 2 runs they had scored already, and then they stranded 2 in the 4th inning. Jay Bruce was trying to bunt his way on. Giants putting on that big shift. Well, he had guys sprinting around the infield.
I mean, where's Sandoval sprinting too? I mean, he's playing deep shortstop. I mean, he's playing out here before that pitch, and he sprinted all the way into here to try to get that foul ball. I mean, you could go get in the beer line. He'll want to get back to your seat by the time he gets to the spot.
Lost a lot of weight now this offseason.
Still, there's a spot. If Bruce wants to lay a bunt down, they're giving it wide open.
You're right.
I mean, just because he moves in a few spots to where the shortstop normally plays. This is where, if you're really serious about laying down a bunt, you've got to practice it enough to be able to do it 7 out of 10 times.
And that's strike 3 called. Second time Bruce has been called out on strikes tonight.
Kind of a wimpy AB there.
We'll get out to the Holy Grail Friday night before the Reds take on the Phillies. As there's for the second time in a game on the outside corner of fastball to get Bruce, a pitch that he did not agree with. Anyway, come on down to the Holy Grail Friday night. We'll have a chance to answer our Reds trivia questions, win great prizes, maybe even be featured on Reds Live Friday at 6 at the Holy Grail on the Banks. 2 down. Nobody on. Mesoraco 0 for 2. Pulled him on a breaking ball. And then came back with a fastball, and Mesoraco gone on 3 pitches. A quick inning for Mr. Vogelsong. 2-0 Reds at the end of 5. 0 after winning the series opener here last night 8-3. Now granted, it's the end of 5, long way to go, 2-run game, but Chris, this is a lot more like the Tony Cingrani we saw last year.
Well, it's also a lot more like a game you would expect to play against the San Francisco Giants. They run good pitching out there at you. They're doing the same tonight with Ryan Vogelsong, who has struck out 9. Meanwhile, Cingrani has not really had a lot of problems. He did run into a little temporary mini rally last inning when they were able to get a couple of runners on base. But this is a big inning for him. Right around 80 pitches, with 80 or 90 pitches now for Cingrani, 83, I guess. And he's got the middle of the order. These guys have seen him twice. We'll see what they do now.
Well, we have just received some very, very sad news. And for anybody who knew Don Zimmer, how could you not love Don Zimmer? He passed away tonight. Western Hills High School class of 1949. When you talk about a baseball lifer, nobody could be matched up against Don Zimmer. Of course, he'll forever be known when the Chicago Cubs won in the National League East in 1989 to get to the National League Championship Series. I mean, he was the toast of the town. And of course, his running mate, his classmate, Jim Fry, was the manager when the Cubs won it in 1984. And Fry would go on to become Don Zimmer's boss as general manager of the Chicago Cubs when they won their division in 1989. So he had so many friends, family here in the area. His wife Soot, they've been together, got married, in fact, if I'm not mistaken, in Binghamton, New York, on the field while he was a young player. And been married over 60 years. And he passes away today. Our thoughts and prayers to all who knew him and certainly loved him. What a guy.
You know, Don, going back to his playing career, when he was hit by a pitch in 1953 by Jim Kirk.
The ball hit hard, and Hamilton will go get it.
And it caused Zimmer to faint. Maybe went into a coma, but he woke up 2 weeks later, thinking that it was the next day. And that led Major League Baseball to begin to adopt using batting helmets. And shortly thereafter, it was Phil Rizzuto who was the first batter to use a batting helmet.
I misspoke when I said that he was married in Binghamton. It was Elmira in 1951, and he had been dating Jean, nicknamed Soot, since 10th grade. Well, the Giants are on the board. Cingrani makes a mistake. Looked like a first pitch breaking ball to Michael Morse. And Morse clubs his 12th home run, and it's a 1-run game.
That may have been a changeup. It's hard to see from that angle, and Morse is a big, strong guy with a long swing. He went down to get that pitch. Sometimes you call it a mistake. Sometimes you have to tip your hat to the hitter a little bit. 88 miles an hour. I would say that was a changeup.
0-1 a count on Brandon Hicks, who has struck out and flied out to left field. One account on Brandon Hicks, and that's inside and low. 2 balls and a strike. Hard hit ball into left field. So after retiring the first 2 batters in the inning, Cingrani has since surrendered a home run and now a single by Hicks. And now it'll be Juan Perez.
Now they're beginning to move around in the bullpen out there. I'm not sure if anybody's rushing to get loose. Nielsen Antigua donning the catching gear, and I think it looks like maybe Andrusik out there.
Yep, Logan Andrusik beginning to crank it up. Saw J.J. Hoover for 2 innings here last night. Andrusik got the final 3 outs in the 9th inning. Pitch number 95 for Cingrani. And the Giants get a home run from Juan Perez, who had 1 hit coming into this game in 21 at-bats. He has a double and now a home run, and the Giants lead by a count of 3-2.
Now Juan Perez, who was born in the Dominican, raised in the Bronx, and then went to Southwest Oklahoma State Junior College, where he hit more than 30 home runs one year. Bops one right there, and that all of a sudden changes this ball game entirely. And I think that also was an off-speed pitch. So Cingrani tonight has given up both of his home runs on something other than his #1 pitch, which he throws about 80% of the time. That last pitch that he hit a home run on was 89 miles an hour. Now they may figure it as a breaker, a fastball, but it certainly wasn't his normal fastball.
Well, we'll find out for sure after the game, but what we do know is we've been seeing in this game the Tony Cingrani of last year, throwing a lot more fastballs tonight, a lot more fastballs up in the zone tonight, racking up better than a strikeout per inning tonight, which is what he averaged last year. And again, we'll find out for sure later. But if indeed, after retiring the first 2 batters in the 6th inning, they got beat with less than his best stuff, you can understand why he's out there on the mound grinding his teeth right now. And there's a walk, and you got to believe that's it. Yep, here comes Brian Price. He retired the first 2 batters in the inning. Home run, single, home run, walk, and what started as a very promising night for Tony Cingrani comes to a rather bitter end. This will be our Skyline Chili call to the bullpen. Andrusik will come on and try and get the final out of the inning.
Jim Day with you. Let's give you an update on Matt Latos, who is pitching for the Louisville Bats at Lehigh Valley. And you see his line right there, but a little bit of troublesome at the end of it as the pitching coach and the manager, Jim Riggleman, had to come to the mound, and they took Latos out of the game unexpectedly. Now, I've been following Twitter, and believe it or not, his wife tweeted out that it is just a calf cramp. Now, that is not a verified report, but he did come out of that game due to injury. They wanted to get him to 90 to 100 pitches, and what they hoped would be his last rehab start. So we'll continue to follow it and give you the latest when we get it.
All right, Jimmy, thank you very, very much. Hopefully nothing serious at all. Well, Tony Cingrani out. And Logan Andrus again to face the pitcher Ryan Vogelsong, who all of a sudden has a one-run lead. Home run, single, home run to give the Giants a 3-2 advantage here in the 6th inning. And after a walk, that was all for Cingrani. You look at the last 2 innings. Cingrani in the 5th. You can only wonder what that Vogelsong double. Ironically enough, we talk so much about the Cingrani 2-out single and what it might do to Vogelsong, because he allowed a single to Hamilton. He wound up striking out Todd Frazier. Ball in the air, and Hamilton will go back and get it to end the inning. But major damage done. A pair of home runs. Reds come to bat, bottom of the 6th, trailing by a run. Summary, the Reds jumped on the Giants in the 3rd inning. A home run by Todd Frazier made it 1-0. Double by Brandon Phillips. He scored on a double by Jay Bruce. But the Reds could manage no further damage in that inning. And then in the Giants 6th, 2 out, nobody on. Michael Morse a home run to make it a 1-run game after a single. Juan Perez, 1 hit all year. His 2nd extra base hit in the game tonight, and it gives the Giants their current 3-2 lead. You know, we talk so much about the Giants and their ability to score with 2 outs in an inning. I mean, really, it's been all about their pitching, hitting home runs, and clutch hitting. I mean, you can break down any other numbers you want. Those are the only three categories that add up to the Giants being the team with the best record in all of baseball. They're hitting over 290 with runners in scoring position and 2 outs. And with 2 outs, they have scored a league high 122 runs. End of story. Now we have a long way to go in this game. It's only the bottom of the 6th inning, and the Reds just down a single run. But Vogelsong has allowed 7 hits, but he has struck out 9 batters in 5 innings tonight. And he's only walked 1 batter. That was the man who bats right now, Ryan Ludwig. And this will be an easy play for the first out of the inning, and Vogelsong getting on a pretty good run now. His biggest out of the night was undeniably in the 4th inning after the 2-out single by Cingrani and the single by Hamilton. The Reds had Frazier at the plate, 2-0 lead, looking for the big hit. Frazier had homered his prior time up, and you're thinking you find a gap here and you'll make it mighty tough on these Giants. Well, he struck Frazier out. Went through the Reds in order in the 5th, and now 1 out here in the 6th. And Pena looks at a strike. Ball to short, second time, and Crawford will throw out Pena. He's 0 for 3 tonight.
Kind of guiding that ball to shortstop. Hey, one thing about Vogelsong, you don't strike out 9 batters with a fastball that hovers around 89 miles an hour unless you're picking on the corners. And he has been all over the periphery of that strike zone tonight. Pitching Zach Kozar down and away every time, getting him to kind of get his nose leaning over that outside corner a little bit, losing his power. Gonna go back out there again.
Have big Donald Ludd standing in the on-deck circle. That is a pitcher spot due up next. Andrusik came on to get Vogelsong for the final out in the 3-run top half of this inning. That's off the end of the bat to the second baseman. Back-to-back perfect innings for Vogelsong. Go to the 7th. Reds down a run. Visit your Tri-State Chevy dealer today. And by Cincinnati Children's Hospital, ranked #1 in the United States in pediatric cancer care, according to U.S. News and World Report's best children's hospitals in America. Downtown Cincinnati, a spectacular view. Looking right along the banks of the Ohio, high above the Commonwealth, and into Great American Ballpark on this beautiful Wednesday night. Logan Ondrusek still on the mound. Reds trail the Giants in the 7th inning, 3-2. Pirates are batting in the top half of the 9th inning in San Diego, trailing 3-2. Cardinals in the 5th in front of Kansas City 1-0, and Minnesota scored 3 times to take a 2-run lead over Milwaukee. Short left field, and Ludwig got a good jump on it. 1 out. That ball hit hard into left center field, and Hunter Pence, a beat goes on for him against Logan Ondrusek. My, oh my, 5 out of 7.
They keep making mistakes to Hunter Pence up in the zone, and he's shown everybody that's where he loves the ball. I'm not sure why you just don't pound the bottom of the strike zone and take your chances right there, because he has shown everybody how good he can be when you get the ball up around the letters. Wears his pants high, and he likes his pitches high.
You got those pants pulled all the way up above his kneecaps.
I wonder if he gets a better low strike zone because of that.
Good question. I don't know if I've ever seen a player that wore the pants above the kneecaps. Seen him wear it right up to the kneecaps.
Yeah. I want to call the uniform police.
And Buster Posey went around, strike 1. If that were the old National Football League, that would have been caught long before the first pitch.
Yeah.
Those guys walk around on the field before the game with a clipboard.
Making sure you wear your
uniform. Making sure everything
according
is
to code, huh?
Absolutely. 0-1. Trying to remember who the former great player. I mean, this guy's a Hall of Fame player. Game I was doing last year, and his job for whatever organization it was he was the guy from the league, walking around and taking a look at everybody going through warm-ups. And David Fulcher does it for the Bengals, a former great safety for the Bengals. 1-2 to Buster Posey. Well, you know, you raised a very interesting question there about wearing the pants where they are.
I used to kid with Adam Dunn about that all the time. He wore those big baggy pants, of course, like all the guys, going right down to his shoes, and he would I mean, they were about 4 inches too long, but they would, bunch up down around the shoe. And he would get called out on low strikes and argue with the umpire on the way back to the dugout. And I said, why don't you just, I said, you're so tall, you're 6'6", so why don't you just pull your pants up and show the umpire where your knees are, because your pants are so baggy, he doesn't know where your knees are. He's estimating that your knees are at the same height as Ryan Friel. And that's why you're getting rung up on pitches that you think are shin high. He didn't like that idea.
Kozar will play to first, pants on to third, and there are 2 outs in the inning. It's a big at bat right here. Bring the family to Great American Ballpark Sunday and cheer on your Reds at half price with a Reach Magazine family ticket offer. Plus the first 8,000 kids this Sunday, 14 and younger, receive a kids Brandon Phillips growth chart thanks to College Advantage. So come on down to the ballpark Sunday. Reds and the Phillies at 1:10. Reds have left-hander Manny Parra ready in the bullpen. You have a switch-hitting Sandoval, who, as we brought up earlier, is a far superior hitter, at least this year, left-handed, than he is right-handed. Sandoval, another guy who has great success, albeit in 6 at-bats against Logan Ondrusik, but 3 hits. 2 of the 3 hits are doubles. So you're getting the left-hander warmed up, and you wonder who it is they're getting warmed up for. If you're not going to turn around Sandoval, there's not another left-handed hitter in sight. Jam shot pop up, and Kozar to get it, and good work by Logan Ondrusik. A hit a man left. They stand and stretch. Reds have 9-1-2 coming up. Only down a run. Ball game, Giants in front. Reds come to bat here against starter Ryan Vogelsong, who has retired 7 in a row, and really retired 7 in a row without even working up a sweat. I mean, he has gone right through Phillips, Bruce, Mesoraco, Ludwig, Pena, Kozak with a minimal amount of effort. So Chris Heisey will bat for the pitcher on Brusick, leading off the bottom of the 7th inning. Well, they have Juan Gutierrez, a right-hander, and a left-hander, a one-time Red, Jeremy Affeldt, ready to go in their bullpen. Of course, their closer has been quite shaky of late, Sergio Romo. 1-1 to Heisey. Vogelsong has fanned 9. Has hit a batter. That was in the 1st inning. Walked a batter. That was the first batter of the 2nd inning. Heisey trying to run into one and tie it up. Instead, he pops it up to the infield. 1 out. 8 in a row retired by the Giant right-hander. Billy Hamilton already 3 hits in the game tonight.
With our Fox vision, not hit all that hard, but a good spot right there. There's Billy Hamilton. You see where Morse is looking, the first baseman. But now Hamilton has to beat the pitcher. He does. Vogelsong beaten by an eyelash, and this one just right out in front of home plate. And Hamilton just fires it down the line, and there goes the ball over his head. He must be in that particular play in his life just so much. Seeing a ball go over his head, somebody a flailing attempt trying to get him at first base, and there goes the ball down the right field line.
That Fox vision is pretty sweet.
It is.
And apparently that's going to be all for Ryan Vogelsong. He gives him 6 1/3 innings tonight. And there were 2 or 3 innings early in the game in the front 4. 3 times the Reds really had a chance to take it to this guy. They had a runner at 2nd, nobody out in the 1st inning. 1st and 2nd, 1 out in the 1st inning. Runner at 2nd, 1 out in the 3rd inning. 2 on, 2 out in the 4th. Could not get the big hit. And ever since getting that final out in that 4th inning, he retires the last 8 batters he faces. So they bring in Juan Gutierrez from their bullpen. We'll be back in a moment. Sweepstakes on board the Fan Express. Today's keyword gears. Enter it on the entry page at foxsportsohio.com to enter. And then stay tuned every day for a new keyword and a new chance to win. It is a 1-run San Francisco lead. We're only in the bottom of the 7th inning. Billy Hamilton to the plate with 1 out, and the new pitcher is Juan Gutierrez.
Juan Gutierrez has been with the Houston Astros. He spent parts of a few seasons with the Arizona Diamondbacks. Last year he split time with Kansas City and Los Angeles Angels, and this year he came to camp as a non-roster player. And on the very last day of the spring training season, they added Gutierrez to the roster. He made the ball club, and here he is throwing 95 miles an hour with a nice slider. He's throwing a lot of strikes, as you see. 20 strikeouts, only 5 bases on balls.
Well, when he has allowed runs, every single one of them has been given up on the road this season. Not allowed a single run in San Francisco. Slow breaking ball and a dandy to get ahead 0-2. What we're talking about. And he strikes out Hamilton on 3 pitches. Frazier 1 of 3, homered off the fair pole back into 3rd inning down the left field line. Boy, what a nasty pitch that was.
That's a curveball that he throws, and he throws it an awful lot. They've got him down as throwing that curveball more than 31% of the time. That's a lot. But he also throws a 95-mile-an-hour fastball.
Javier Lopez, a left-handed, now getting loose in the Giant bullpen. They're without their big-time setup right-handed Santiago Casilla, as that one is swung on and fouled out of play. They don't know when he's going to be back. But you know what, with the struggles at least of late by their closer Romo, what was as recently about 2 weeks ago a slam dunk lights out bullpen, at least some Giant fans get a little bit nervous recently. 1-2 pitch hit off the end of the bat, foul.
Well, Casilla, their big time, as you said, setup guy, actually hurt himself running to first base. He had a rare at bat. They told him, you don't even have to swing. But everybody in the dugout got up at the front step of the dugout, a rare, maybe his first major league at bat, I don't know, probably in a long time. And they're all hooting and hollering from the dugout, and he hits a routine ground ball. He tries to beat it out, and he blows his hamstring out.
Now, they thought it was kind of that roll-up hamstring, where next thing you know, you're having surgery on that thing.
You're pulling off the bone.
Right. But as it turns out, it wasn't nearly as bad as they thought it initially was. All right, Frazier with a count of 2-2. And Gutierrez, the pause and a pitch. And a roller foul again, so Frazier hanging in there. Reds had a 2-0 lead. 6 innings, and Ronnie cruising along, 2 outs, nobody on. Bam, solo home run by Michael Morse, but still a lead. But then Brandon Hicks batting in the 170s with a single, and Juan Perez, 1 hit all year, hits a 2-run home run. And that's all for the Reds. 3rd straight inning, they go in order. 3-2, Giants in front, end of 7.
dog play of the game, and it goes into left field. Brian Ludwig all the way back near the wall, makes a leaping catch right there to end the 4th inning off of a drive by Brandon Hicks. Nice play by the Reds left fielder. Our John Morrell hot dog play of the game.
So the Reds will go to their bullpen after Chris Heisey hit 4 on Andrusik. Logan works an inning and a third, allows 1 hit, no runs. Andrusik did a nice job tonight. Reds are down 3-2, and now Brian Price will hand the ball to Sam LeCure, who's been real good all year long. Where Sam was funny that last time out. I mean, he just did not have it. Came into the game in Arizona protecting a 1-run lead. He faced 3 batters. Gave up a rocket to left field that was caught. He gave up a rocket to left field that was a hit. And then a rocket to deep right field that was caught. And remember his reaction out there on the mound, bent over and looking to the heavens like, how in the world did I survive that? Well, now Morris only 1 at bat against LeCure, and he hit a home run against him. And Morris homered his last time up. Ball 1. Patting here in the top of the 8th inning. 3 runs, 7 hits, 7 left for the Giants. 2 runs, 7 hits, 6 left for the Reds. All 6 runners left on base for the Reds were in the first 4 innings. Swinging a foul ball out of play. I would certainly think one of the most memorable moments of Sam LeCure's career came against his Giant team. Who could ever forget it? Game 1 of that National League Division Series. In the very first inning, starter Johnny Cueto injured. LeCure came in from the bullpen and gave the Reds an inning and 2/3 of scoreless work, and he earned the win. Came back, and would pitch in 2 more games and would not allow a run in 4 innings during that division series, and Morris gone on strikes.
Pinpoint control here for Sam, and that is his calling card. Being able to nick that outside corner with a little sinking fastball. Look at the grouping of pitches right there. I mean, even when he missed, it was down and away. I'll tell you, you want good results. If you're a right-handed pitcher and you want good results, throw the ball down and away.
Well, I was amazed. You brought up the name Leo Mazzoni, and of course, we'd see him as a broadcaster, and he's always very outgoing. He'd talk to you anytime about anything. But when I had a chance to actually announce a game with him, I was just stunned when he basically said that the only thing he told his pitchers was all the time to pitch down and away. Felt that stuff about coming inside, that old school theory, they got to come in and then work away. In his opinion, he said it's nothing more than wasting pitches. He said you dot that outside corner like you just talked about, guys are not going to hit the ball in the seats.
You're right.
Of course, he had some of the best of all time he's working with now.
That's true, and he has to be pinpoint control.
Yes.
You can't throw 2 down and away and then 1 down the middle and expect good results. But there were 2 organizations that have always been famous or well known for teaching their minor league pitchers to go down and away. One was the Braves. They did it forever, right down to the lowest minor league rung in the ladder. And the others are Los Angeles Dodgers for years and years. That's all we ever heard about, that's what the Dodgers would teach. Down and away. Learn how to throw your fastball down and away. And for a right-hander, it's not an easy pitch to throw. Anytime you throw to your glove side, you have to have good direction with your leg, get your arm extended, And Sam McCurry has saved his major league career by being able to throw that little comeback two-seam fastball, and that's what's made him a real formidable pitcher.
2-2 to count now on Brandon Hicks, who had that single in front of the Perez home run. Hopper will back up Frazier, and he'll cut it loose, showing off that strong arm. 2 away in the inning. Our Nissan drive of the game so far, and this one belongs to Juan Perez, his second major league home run, his first this year. And that gave the Giants his current 3-2 lead that came in the 6th inning. Strike one on Juan Perez. Everybody was headed for the dugout right there.
That's been a strike a lot tonight.
One and two on Perez. 2 outs, nobody on. Got him swinging. All right, here we go. Part of the order. 3, 4, 5 coming up. Reds trail by a run. Fireworks Friday this Friday. Cheer on the Reds. They'll take on the Phillies. Of course, after the game, the great fireworks show presented by Force and Fire and Security. Reds and the Phillies Friday night. Come on down to the ballpark. All right. We're getting late into this bottom half of the 8th inning. And there's still Juan Gutierrez. Came on the fan, Billy Hamilton and Todd Frazier, ending the 7th inning. They have the left-hander Javier Lopez ready in their bullpen. And you have the left-handed batting Jay Bruce to follow Brandon Phillips. And they have Gene Maggi, a right-hander who, for the time being, has pitched well enough to replace Santiago Casillas. He is getting ready because then you have a right-handed batter in Mesoraco, of course, after Jay Bruce. 0-1 to Brandon Phillips. And a rare defensive miscue by Crawford.
Now the Giants, who made 4 errors last night, have just played abysmal defense. And you're right, that is a rare error because Brandon Crawford is more or less known for his defense. Error number 7 on the year for Crawford. And it opens a hole now for the Reds. A little bit of an opening here.
Well, that is the first runner to reach base since a single by Hamilton in the 4th. Lopez to face Bruce when we return. By Brandon Crawford, the Giants shortstop. When we talked about all the defensive miscues in this series, starting with the very first inning last night. Wound up with 4 errors in a game, and they have 3 more errors in a game tonight. All right, here we go. Jay Bruce against Javier Lopez. Bruce in his career is only 2 for 13 against this left-hander.
Now this guy's been around a while. Broke in with Colorado in 2003, and he is exactly what you would call a loogie, a left-handed only one guy. I mean, he comes in to pitch to a left-hander and then takes a rest.
Well, Bruce has been looking at that pitch literally all night long, and all night long it's been called a strike.
Now, you said maybe the most important about of the night was in the 4th inning when Frazier struck out. I seem to think it was in the 1st inning when Jay Bruce looked to strike 3 with 2 runners on base. That's when you get a pitcher in that 1st inning.
Well, that was no contest.
Well, that's a tough guy to come in and face. There's no doubt about it. I mean, Lopez earns a lot of money and has for a long time just retiring lefties. That'll be a 1-batter appearance as Bruce Bochy comes out and looks like he's going to do a double switch.
Yeah, Maggi will come on from the bullpen, right-hander to face Mesoraco, Ludwig. So he does his job. 1 on, 1 out. We're in the bottom of the 8th. Reds trail the Giants 3-2. switch made by the Giants manager Bruce Bochy. Gregor Blanco takes over in left field. And now taking over on the mound. What a year for Gene Machi. Has not allowed a run in his last 19 appearances, spanning 21 innings. And of the 71 batters he has faced in his last 21 innings, only 12 of them have reached base.
Well, he keeps the ball down. He doesn't throw especially hard, about 93 miles an hour, but his big pitch is a split finger pitch. It rolls up there and it looks like a strike, and it bites into the dirt. He gets a lot of ground balls with that, and he throws it an awful lot. In fact, for a guy that has only pitched 27 innings all year long in 26 games, he has rolled up 6 ground ball double plays. That's what Bruce Bochy is looking for right here.
Strike one on Devin Mesoraco.
And there it is.
It's a tying run over there at first base. Giants have given the Reds an extra out here in this bottom of the 8th inning. That was an error by Crawford, which allowed him to reach. And now fastball that time at 92, down and away, a ball and a strike to Devin Mesoraco.
To Mesoraco, they're not going to make a mistake and throw him a fastball in the zone, at least not on the inner part of the plate. Report on Mesoraco, and the Giants have been on the Reds for a while. They've had several different scouts following the Reds around to get a good scouting report. There's that splitter again. And they've seen Mesoraco demolish enough fastballs to say, you know what, when the game's on the line, you've got to get him with something else.
One and two on Devin Mesoraco. And a dribbler foul once more. That's splitting.
Well, that's the one you want to get right there, that he starts about letter high and it comes in about waist high, but you get such good arm action on it that you're fooled by the speed of the pitch too. It comes in like a changeup with the arm speed of a fastball.
Once more, the 1-2 pitch is on the way. And a ground ball. This will be a double play, which will end the inning. So we're off to the 9th, where the Reds trail the Giants 3-2. About leading here in the top half of the ninth inning. And taking over on the mound following Tony Cingrani, Logan Ondrusik, and Sam LeCure is left-hander Manny Parra.
Well, he was warming up earlier in the ball game. Game number 25 for this left-hander. That earned run average took a hit back when the Reds were in Philadelphia on May the 18th. He gave up 4 runs in 2/3 of an inning, or in 1 full inning. That runs that earning way up there. And as a reliever that doesn't get a lot of innings in, it's tough to get it back down. Well, here's what the Reds are going to be doing the rest of this homestand. They're here for a long time, and the weather is looking good.
Looking really good. It's supposed to be a beautiful day in the 70s, bright sunshine tomorrow for a 12:30 game. Now, Friday 7:10, Saturday 4:10. Don't forget that. Sunday the regular 1:10. Then Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, all 7:10 starts against the Dodgers. And the finale of that series and the final game of the homestand is a 12:35 game. Brandon Crawford to be followed by Gregor Blanco, and then the leadoff man Angel Pagan here in the Giant ninth. Reds will have Ludwig, Pena, Kozar in the bottom of the ninth inning, and we might see Schumacher in that mix somewhere. Sergio Romo begins to throw in the Giant bullpen, and he has not been nearly as sharp over the last couple of weeks. Now, he does have 17 saves. That's the most in the major leagues. He's only blown 2. As that one is in the air for Ryan Ludwig in short left field, and that's out number 1. But you get back to Romo now. He has been touched up for 6 runs in his last 7 outings, and has allowed runs in each of the last 3 games. First time in his career.
Yeah, this is a big year for him because it's a contract year. He's a guy that really has lived and died by that slider, but the slider, they say this year, is just kind of spinning up there.
Reds fans will forever remember Sergio Romo because he was coming in and nail it down when they won those 3 games in a row here at Great American Ballpark to stun the Reds in that National League Division Series. Frazier charging all the way, and the tag is made. Good play on both ends.
Boy, you're not kidding about that. Frazier made a really nice play right there, and Brian Pena, who's not all that experience of a first baseman, plays this like he's been there all his life. Slap tag.
So 2 away from Manny Parra, and here's Angel Pagan for the 5th time. 0 for 3. Drew a walk back in the 5th inning. Brewers and the Twins are tied in the 7th. Kansas City trails the Cardinals 2-0 in the 7th. And the Pirates have already lost their game. They got beat 3-2. They only allowed 1 hit in that game, did the Pirates, but they walked 9 batters. Ian Kennedy getting the win for San Diego. 0-2 on Pagan. They are finally underway in Cleveland at 10:15 Eastern time. They are in the 2nd inning of that game. After a long rain delay, Indians are rolling. They won 5 in a row. Swept Colorado over the weekend. They beat Boston the first 2 games of that series. 0-2 on Pagan. Toronto winning again. The A's have come back again against the Yankees. They were down 4-1 tonight. And now in the bottom of the 8th inning, the A's have a 5-4 lead. Boy, that's a great story again over in the American League. The play of the Oakland Athletics. They gone swinging, and here we go. Here we go. Bottom of the 9th. Ludwig to lead it off. Romo comes on from the pen. The Reds are only down a single run. Ninth inning, Giants in front, 3-2. Can the Reds rally here in the bottom half of the 9th? Told you Sergio Romo got off to an unbelievable start. He still leads the major leagues with 17 saves and 19 tries, but has really scuffled here of late.
Well, he had 38 saves last year, but you're right, he's been scored upon in each of his last 3 appearances. One of those ball games, he ended up getting the loss. That was at Colorado, but he has saved the last 2 despite the fact giving up a run. But he doesn't have that cushion tonight.
And the other thing he's done is last year, the entire year, Romo only gave up 5 home runs. All of last year. He has already given up 4 home runs so far this year. Ryan Ludwig to lead things off, 1 for 7 with 4 strikeouts in his career against Romo, and that is a venomous breaking ball right there.
Yeah, you really wonder if Brian Price is set to platoon Ryan Ludwig, wouldn't you be thinking about a left-hander in this situation too?
Ludwig has 4 home runs. Pena on deck. Cozart due up 3rd, and then you have the pitcher spot. And a little pop up into right center. 1 out here in the Cincinnati 9th inning. Cozart is standing in the on-deck circle. Ryan Pena, who had that hitting streak come to an end last night. He's also hitless so far in the game tonight. A strikeout and a couple of ground outs to the shortstop, Brandon Crawford. Really, all of his swings tonight have been sort of funny looking swings.
Yeah, it's almost like he's decelerating on the swing. Usually he's a guy that early in the count really lets it rip, and then once he gets 2 strikes on him, starts to kind of protect the plate. He was just completely fooled by that delivery by Romo. That's a little more like it for Brian, but fouls it back.
Reds have not had a hit since a single by Billy Hamilton in the 4th inning. They have been completely and thoroughly shut down. The only time they had a base runner since the 4th inning was the error on the ground ball by Brandon Phillips to Brandon Crawford to lead off the 8th inning. Reds have drawn 1 walk in the game. That came in the 2nd inning. And they have punched out 10 times. There's another weak pop-up into foul ground, and Reds are down to their final out. Boy, I mean, not even a partially well-struck ball going back since a Hamilton single in the 4th. Only 2 balls have left the infield since then, and both of them were pop-ups. And Cozart is going to bat with 2 outs and nobody on. Another weak pop up, and this will do it. Boy, a whimper in the 9th inning. It's a tough one to let get away from you tonight. Our Miller time moment. Reds had a 2-0 lead in the 6th inning, 2 outs and nobody on. Tony Cingrani gave up a home run to Michael Morse, but then the single to 178 batting Brandon Hicks. And Juan Perez, who had 1 hit all year, hit a 2-run home run, putting the Giants in front. We would have never guessed to stay 3-2, and that is our final. Reds Live coming up next.